Hey everybody, Christopher here with Bangert. I wanted to let you guys know about a new report that we've got out. We've built one for Sage 300 and we've built one for Sage 100. And it's to help you guys apply for your PPP loan forgiveness. And this report's going to take all of your payroll data, all of your AP expense data, and help you build out those calculations for full-time equivalencies, etc. It does make use of some products from Event 1. For Sage 300, it's going to use Office Connector. For Sage 100, it's going to use Liberty Reports. Today, we're going to take a look at the Sage 100 option, but the Sage 300 option's very, very similar. So if we take a look at my screen here, we'll see that we've got a pretty complex Excel worksheet. And here we've got the first tab, which is instructions. It's a pretty basic set of instructions, but it does carry you through step by step. If you feel comfortable with those, you don't need to watch the video. Just get your report and move forward. We're not going to go into each of these instructions individually, but we do want to take out the two important pieces. We want to make sure that we refer to these screenshots and grab the refresh button and the save as values button. The refresh button with the lightning bolt in your Liberty Reports tab is going to be what you need to use to run the connection and grab the data from Sage. If you try to use your data tab, refresh all connections properties, you would break the report. So make sure to use the refresh button here. When you're done with the report and you want to save the data, make sure to click Save as Values. Don't just save the report the standard way, because it's still attached to your Sage 100 database at that point. And if you accidentally clicked refresh again, you would kill all of the data you've worked with. So we want to move over to the admin panel from there. And in the admin panel, we're going to have a set of parameters that help you to make sure the data is pulling what you want to see. So the first thing we're going to see is the starting period end date for your PR wages and calculations. This is going to be stuck at 8 weeks for the payroll period that you can set your forgiveness on. This is based on payroll end date and not check date. So make sure to set your period to match your payroll end dates rather than the check dates. And you'll set the start date. It's going to add out to 8 weeks and then give you 8 weeks of calculations. Then it's also going to calculate out the maximum wages that any one employee can be forgiven for, which does calculate out to $15,384.62. Then we're going to set up our payroll calculations for the benefits, deductions, etc., that you're going to include in your payroll application. There are 6 customizable columns. The left column on this is going to be the calculation number. The middle column is going to be the name of the column in the payroll report. And then the right-hand column is just the name of the calculation pulled from Sage 100. I am using sample data, so these aren't really the calculations you would use, but it does help me to get some data in the report to show you guys. Below that, we've got our state unemployment payroll calculation. If you're running more than one state, you're going to need to either run the report multiple times and copy that data out to another worksheet to work with, or you can work with us to get this customized. And another alternative is if you have fewer than 6 columns that you're actually going to make use of for your other calculations, you could use one of these to be your state taxes. Below that, we're going to have our full-time equivalent reference parameters. You can set the start and end date for each of these. You've got a period from last year and then a period from this year that you can use. Those, I believe, are currently fixed, but they may change, so we've left them to where you could update those. Down below that, we have the AP expenses parameters. Here, we're going to have a start and an end date for the period that you want to apply your expenses for interest, rent, utilities. Below those, we've got 3 accounts that you can set up. That's going to be interest, rent, and utilities. If you have more than those 3 accounts that you need to include in your expenses, you can either run the report multiple times, copy that information out, and use it to generate the data by combining those report runs, or you can reach out to us and we can help you customize this report to run as many accounts as you need. So once you've set up all your parameters, you'll go ahead and click the lightning bolt to refresh, and you'll move over to the next tabs to review the data and make sure that it's accurate. On the payroll calculations or wages and calculations tab, we're just going to review, make sure we see the data that we expect to see. And we're going to check for self-employed, owner employees, partners, things like those. There's a handful of those that might be discluded from the calculations. And to take care of those, what we want to do is take a line and copy it and bring it over to the PR Wages Calculations Owners tab and paste it as values. Then we come back to the PR Wages and Calculations tab and delete the line out. This way, we don't include them in our regular employees calculations. We do find them in the summary at the end, though. We'll see here that the salaried employees in the sample data for the time ranges we have don't actually have any hours. They aren't actually getting paid during the period in the sample data. So what we would typically see is this will calculate out based on the number of hours per period and the paychecks per the period that we're looking at here to get number of estimated hours worked. And then it'll divide it by the number of weeks in the pay period to give you the number of hours per week that the employee worked on average. And then it calculates out your 0.5 or 1 full-time equivalent. The hours work very similarly. It's adding up the number of hours during the period. It's dividing that by the number of weeks in the period and determining whether or not they count as a regular full-time equivalent at 0.5 or at 1. Then we move over. The same thing happens on the PR Wages Calculations Owners tab. And we can then check our reference full-time equivalents. So what we can see here is it actually does the same thing, but for a different set of pay periods. And this is what we would see if we had data for paychecks that have gone out on that PR Wages and Calculations, is this would calculate up with the number of weeks worked in the period and number of paychecks that went out to that employee to get you the number of hours on average per week during the period, and then generate your full-time equivalent based on that salaried employee. We have the 2 periods. They do the same thing, just different pay periods. And then we come over to our AP expenses. Again, because we're using sample data, we don't have a full set of information here, but we would calculate out the interest paid, the rent paid, and the utilities paid, and line item those out. These then total up at the bottom, and we can find all the information that we need, hopefully, to fill out our application on the summary page. Here we've got the data that we've pulled out of the PR Wages and Calculations tab. Here we've got the data we've pulled out of the PR Wages and Calculations Owners tab, and then we put them together to get the data for all employees. Next, we've got our full-time equivalent reference table so that we can check against our hours worked to see which reference period we want to use, which one will benefit us most when we look at getting our loan application submitted. And finally, we've got the AP expenses summary where we just tally up the totals of the expenses paid to interest, rent, and utilities. That's basically it. It's fairly straightforward. If you need any help with it, don't hesitate to reach out to us. If you want to get some customization done on it, to add more accounts, to add more state unemployment taxes, definitely reach out to us. We can help you out with that. Thanks for watching, guys. Look out for any new content from us on our YouTube, and check out our website to look for online classes and other assorted resources for you. And feel free to reach out to us with any questions. Thanks.